should drink before the recording starts because it's so loud.
Good, that'll work. I'm out of water. We're so ready. God, that's so loud.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, I was joking.
I know. Actually, I didn't.
I was totally joking. Hi, baby. How you doing?
I just burped. Is that going to be in the recording?
Yep, sure is.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah, and I burp a lot. I also fart a lot. I'm a human being, and I have all the functions of a human that happen very frequently. I'm also on my period right now. I'm sweating profusely. All the things coming out of my body right now.
You're doing a clear out.
I'm also really praying that I'm not going to cry while we do this recording, else I'm pretty close right now.
So that's where we're at today.
Oh, I'm so hot. We weren't actually supposed to record today.
No, we weren't.
And then Megan called me, and first she told me about a dream that she had that made me very upset. And then she was like, so I had a change in my schedule. Can I tell them the dream? And I have a free hour. Do you want to record? I was like, yes.
I don't have a lot of free hours right now. No. The free hours are thin on the ground.
So I didn't think I could say no. So here we are. Tell him your dream. Oh my God.
I'm so into this. I'm so into it. Okay.
This is going to be either the worst or the best or both at the same time.
I'm into it. I don't care. So my dream, the dream was long and involved, but the beginning of the dream was that I had to go to Germany to get something that would have been too complicated and expensive to somehow figure out how to get to me in America. And so I was in Germany for like a day, like less than 24 hours, like a day.
Sounds like my wedding.
Similar. And so I got there at night and I like went to Hannah's house which was also your mom's house, but it was neither of the actual houses that you have lived in. Just to be clear, it was a wholly different house, but you and your mom were both living there.
Okay.
And so I slept in a bed, like without telling her I was there. I got there, I went in the house, I slept in the bed. I woke up in the morning and I was like, this is so great. Hannah loves surprises. I'm gonna go in there and surprise her. And the baby was with me, which was like, she's gonna be over the moon. And so I went into her room and I woke her up that morning and I was like, hi, I'm here. And she was obviously thrilled. She had a great time. And then we just like spent the morning hanging out with Hannah and the baby, and then I went and got what I needed. And it was only like 12 and my flight back wasn't until like 7 p.m. So like I did a whole bunch of stuff after that. Not the important part of the dream. But it was super cute. So I called her and told her about that this morning. And she was like, how dare you? I told you I'm close to tears all the time right now. So
yeah, this will
that's
be
what happens.
Like one of the best days of my life. That's like these kind of things, these kind of surprises is what I live for.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
It was magical. I wish I could do it for real.
Me too.
I know. Okay.
Okay, let's get out of Soft Town. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about hypnobirthing today, and I'm so excited. I'm turning you up because I can't hear you.
I was like, yeah, let's record, but can we do something where you do the talking and I'm just here?
And I was like, can we talk about hypnobirthing?
And
She
I
was
said,
like,
yes, please.
yes. Oh, my baby's crying. It happens.
He's with someone, again. We've said this before, but just to be clear, he's taken care of.
There is a babysitter here. Nanny, I feel weird using the word nanny, but she's here like a significant amount, so I feel like she's technically a nanny. But I feel like only fancy people have nannies. Doesn't matter. It's not true. Oh, not only fancy people have nannies. I guess I have nannies, so he's with the nanny.
What's the definition of fancy?
Like, more income than I have.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. She is lovely and here a lot, so I think we can call her a nanny. Anyway, hypnobirthing. I love hypnobirthing. I love it so much. I cannot shut up about it. So, I have given myself timestamps. And I have notes so that I don't talk for 4 hours because I feel like that's not going to be editable and also
please don't
not
do
going to
that.
be postable.
I would say something really quick. We did a first take on Megan's birth story that was like
that we are not going to post.
That we're not going to post. I spent 16 hours editing it, and afterwards we were like, yeah, should we do that again for different reasons? But it was 2.5 hours, and she talked a lot about hypnobirthing. So after that, I was like, so one, I think we should do that again. Oh, also, we only got through half of the birth.
Yeah, we had only just gotten to the birth center when you were like, and I think
No. We were at the point at where you would leave the house. We weren't at the birth center yet. There's a long
We didn't
part.
do the car ride?
No.
Oh my god.
Anyways, so I was like, one, we're doing that again. Two, before we do that, we're recording an episode about hypnobirthing so you can get all of it out. Everybody knows you don't need to take detours, and we talk just about the birth. So here we are. Hypnobirthing. Megan,
and I do have a section. What's that?
Sorry, I was about to cue you in. Go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I do have a section about how I used it in birth.
Perfect.
And like what worked for me and what I expected and all of that. So we'll get there. I'm so excited. Hello, my dears. I come to you from the laundry corner of my kitchen, which is a terrible mess. But I am popping in at the beginning of this episode to say I messed up and I'm really sorry. And I wanted to say that before we go into this episode because I'm so disappointed in myself. The episode you're about to listen to is about hypnobirthing, and I talk a lot about unmedicated vaginal birth, and what I call it is natural birth. And I'm so mad at myself. I have been working for a while to train my brain to call it unmedicated birth, and clearly it hasn't worked all the way. But I am still trying to do that. I grew up hearing about unmedicated birth being called natural birth, and that's not to say it's an excuse, it's just to say that's how my brain was taught to use that word, and I get so annoyed at people when they say natural birth. So I guess that's like a why don't you check yourself before you try to check other people's type situation. So here I am checking myself. I really apologize. I hope that you can forgive me. Some of you might not care, but I know that there are people that will be just as irked as I would be listening to a podcast episode where they talk about quote unquote natural birth. So all my love to you people had them beautiful natural medicated births, and all my love to the people that didn't, and try to be kind, but I get it if you're mad, because I would be too. So I hope that doesn't ruin your listening experience of this episode and your ideas about hypnobirthing, because hypnobirthing is amazing. Although in the Mangan Method she does use natural birth constantly, and it really annoyed me. So again, here we are. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I just wanted to acknowledge it ahead of time, and we decided not to re-record or anything or hold the episode, because this is, oh sorry, I'm shaking. This is part of what we're here for. We're here to mess up. And it's not cute, and it's not aesthetic, and it's not clean or easy, but it's what happened. So here's the hypnobirthing episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye. Okay, but let's start at the beginning. Hypnobirthing, also known as the Mongan Method, also known, he's so great, also known some places as calm birth, although there is like a calm birth method, which is apparently different, which I found out today as I was Googling to find some information. So I knew that I preferred to have a natural birth. I wanted to be open and non-judgmental about intervention methods depending on the evidence and, you know, my status in pregnancy and all of that. And I still very much support that. And hypnobirthing is one way of mitigating some of those risks and preventing unnecessary intervention. So my mom, I'm only going to go into I gave myself 5 minutes for this. So my mom had 3 different kinds of births. And one of them was a natural birth after a C-section. Again, like I will stop giving disclaimers, but I'm not saying that natural birth is the only way to have, or unmedicated vaginal birth is the only way to have a calm, lovely experience of birth. But there's also a lot of benefits to having a natural birth as it's possible. So I was interested in natural birth because of her process with natural birth, which was after she had the C-section. This was in the 80s. She had to interview a bunch of doctors to get them to let her have a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after C-section. So she finally did find like the head of OB at a hospital near her who was like, yeah, absolutely, you could do that. That's great. I'm down. Let's do it. And so she had me and my brother, I'm the middle child, he's the youngest, with that doctor. So that's why I was interested in a natural birth, because my mom fought really hard for it and always talked about why she did that and the benefits of natural birth. So that was always in my head. And then I am an avid YouTube watcher and I have been watching Louise Pentland for a lot of years. And my first encounter with hypnobirthing via YouTube was Hannah Michalak, who's a vlogger, and had her second birth with hypnobirthing. And then Louise Pentland, who also had her second birth through hypnobirthing. And I think a lot of people come to hypnobirthing in their second births, often because of uncomfortable or traumatic first births. I'm really glad that I didn't wait to do it till the second one. But I also totally see how it is so easy to just go, I'm going to do whatever the doctor tells me to do. I don't need to like take on a whole other section of learning and experience to do this, because I have too much going on right now and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't want to be in charge. Like, I totally get that, right? Like, find an expert, trust that expert. What I experienced, and now like, once I decided to do hypnobirthing, from the beginning of my birth, I was interested in, from birth of my pregnancy, I was interested in hypnobirthing because of what I had heard from people online, what I had looked up myself. And so I wanted to look into it. I knew there were other like natural birth methods, but this one seemed like right up my street. And so I looked into it a lot. But you're not supposed to do a birth class until like pretty late in your pregnancy. I did it probably earlier than most people do. I started at 20 something weeks. It must have been, I think I started before I was 6 months pregnant. So it was pretty early. But I took a course locally. I found a teacher locally because I really wanted to do an in-person course. Ha ha ha. And I really wanted to meet other expecting parents. Again, lol. And so I found someone locally who, thank God, because she was the only person I could find locally that wasn't like an hour plus away. She had just started doing, like, this was her second class that she had taught total, period. And the first class that she had taught in my local area. So I was super excited. I emailed her in like December, like way too early. And I was like, hey, are you doing any classes locally here? And please let me know if you do start a course, and blah, blah, blah. She said, well, I don't have enough people to do that yet, but I am interested. I've got a place. And so if you know, I'll let you know when we have enough people to do a class. And that ended up being in April, which was great because it was, you know, far enough along that I could take a course and it would be pretty normal. So I started, we had one in-person class and I don't remember if we were wearing masks at that point. I don't think so. I think it was like right before things got really serious. Might have been wearing masks. We definitely had like hand sanitizer and we're sitting pretty far apart from each other.
I think you wore a mask. I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah. We must have done, because it was the beginning of April, so it was already a couple weeks into more serious stuff, pandemic times. And after that course, it was like 6 people in a pretty small room, and we just weren't comfortable going. So after that course, we went online and ended up having one-on-one sessions with her, which was kind of a bummer for like knowing the people in our class, but it ended up working just fine. I really liked having an actual class where someone was expecting me to be there and someone was expecting me to have practiced, because there's a lot of practice involved in hypnobirthing. I think there's practice involved in most birth courses, but in this one especially. And who expected me to have read the stuff and watched the videos that she sent out. And I need accountability, so that was great for me. That was why I wanted a local course to begin with. Her teaching was fine. Again, it was only her second course she had ever taught, so that process takes a lot of practice, I'm sure. And I did find, and have generally found, that there's a lot of very anti-hospital rhetoric in the natural birth community, in the hypnobirth community. Although there's a spectrum, right? Obviously there's a spectrum. In the natural birth community, I feel like there's, generally speaking, the two extremes of fundamentalist religious person and natural hippie person, like anti-everything medicine. And those are the two rhetorics that are happening. And I'm not saying that the people are that way, but that's the language that's used. And neither of those really totally fit my personal approach to stuff. So I was nervous, and she definitely fell into one of those streams and talked in one of those ways. Luckily, in hypnobirthing, there is active language about using hypnobirthing in a hospital birth, using hypnobirthing in a C-section, using hypnobirthing with all versions of birth. And that's one of the things that I love about it. So we were able to pull that out of it, even though there was a little bit of a disconnect in mindset and approach with our teacher personally. Part of this course was reading the Mangan Method, the Hypnobirthing, parentheses, the Mangan Method, the book, which we will link below. I definitely think it is worth reading. It's really interesting, especially at the beginning of the book. It's a lot of deconstructing our public perception of birth. And I had done some of that already, like I mentioned, with my mom and through some of the content I was consuming. But we have a lot of, as a Western society, we have a lot of ideas about what birth looks like and what it feels like, and that it's scary and painful and life-threatening. We have this idea that birth is life-threatening. And while it certainly can be life-threatening, and there are life-threatening complications that can happen in a birth, the vast majority, vast majority of births do not include a life-threatening complication, are completely natural processes. The word natural has a lot of baggage, but are completely human, basic human processes.
I've heard a lot of midwives say that birth is not a medical event. Does that
Right.
fit what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't have to be. And we have had so many improvements in medicine and so many advances in how to treat the emergencies that do come up, that we've kind of swung too far to trying to fix what's happening in birth. And I said fix in air quotes. When nothing is wrong. So hypnobirthing and some other natural birthing techniques really work to deconstruct how we think about birth and what our mind-body connection does during birth. And specifically hypnobirthing really works on that mind-body connection and how we perceive what's happening to us affects what happens to us. So in hypnobirthing, you're trying to retrain your brain to perceive what's happening to you as a natural and beautiful thing. And what that does is it changes the hormones that are moving throughout your body. Instead of fear hormones, you have bonding hormones and happy hormones. And the hormone that is integral to contractions and the labor of giving birth is oxytocin. The drug that they give you to induce birth is Pitocin, which is a synthetic form of oxytocin. And oxytocin is a happy hormone, right? It's a bonding hormone. It's a happy hormone.
In German, we call it the Kuschelhormon, the cuddling hormone.
The cuddling hormone, yeah, exactly. Because you get it when you cuddle, when you bond, you get it when you breastfeed, which is why after birth sometimes breastfeeding causes contractions, because that's what makes contractions happen, is oxytocin. It's this bonding, happy, cuddly hormone. I like that, the kuschel hormone. So that's what hypnobirthing does, and that was the practice that I was starting to incorporate into my world. And the way that it does that is through self-hypnosis. And I know that hypnosis is a word that is laden with like creepy rooms and big performance stuff, right? Like we had a guy come to our college who was a hypnotist, and he got people on stage and he got them to like dance around like chickens, right? That's what I associate with hypnosis. And I associate hypnosis with like my aunt went to a hypnotist to quit smoking. Those are the things that I had in my brain when it came to hypnosis. My experience of hypnobirthing and the hypnosis and self-hypnosis that happens through the practice of a hypnobirthing self-hypnosis practice, I don't know, was that it was kind of what I pictured and had somewhat experienced in meditation, especially in guided meditation. So, and this is where I'm gonna lean on Hannah a little bit, because Hannah has a gorgeous meditation practice, and no, but you actively meditate.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. Yes.
Sure, which I think is part of an active meditation practice. I don't think. Anyway, no judging here on your period days. No making sweeping judgments about your meditation practice while you're hormonal. But in my experience of this hypnobirthing practice, there was physical relaxation paired with visualizations and breathing techniques and calming practices that I really, basically what I experienced was what I imagined of guided meditation. And so it's someone with a script saying, picture yourself in an open field and you can see the colors of the rainbow. Picture red. You're surrounded by red. Like it's that sort of thing, right? It's you've got your eyes closed, you're breathing deeply, you're calming your body. And it's a lot of affirmations, and affirmations are used all over the place. Affirmations are used in meditation, they're used in therapy, to rewrite what we associate with something specific, ourselves, or and in this case, our births. So that was awesome. And very thankfully, due to our pandemic life, my partner was able to take this class with me. Originally, we had anticipated that he wouldn't be able to, but I'm so grateful that he did and that he could. And that is, I think if he hadn't been able to do this first in-person course with me, in-person, one-on-one, locally teacher-led course with me, I would have had him do the online course with me that I did later in my pregnancy. because what I did find is after the course ended, it was awesome. She led us in hypnosis and in meditation during the course, and then we got positive birth videos, which were like these videos of people having these gorgeous natural births in all kinds of situations. There were people at birth centers, there were people at home, there were people in hospitals, but it was like all very calm and very like, oof, amazing and powerful. And that's a huge part of hypnobirthing in general, is filling your narrative and filling your content consumption with positive birth stories, which is part of the reason we want to put my birth story on this podcast. I mean, we probably would anyway, but for all those people looking for positive birth stories, mine is gorgeous and I loved it. And I can't wait to tell you all about it. But we were watching videos of people giving birth. We were doing meditation or self-hypnosis every single day. We weren't every single day, but trying to do it every day. And basically, as much as you can practice as possible. Like if you can do it 3 times a day, go you, you should do it 3 times a day. If you can do it 3 times a week, go you, you should do it 3 times a week. The more you can do it, the more it's in your body. So we aimed for once a day, every day together, which was also great because like calming meditation is just good for your life in general. Like it's a beautiful thing if you can relax your body and connect with your body. And especially if you're pregnant, if you can connect with your body and connect with your baby. I found it kind of hard to connect with my baby sometimes because I've never had a baby before. And I knew that my body was changing and I could feel and move sometimes, but I didn't do a lot of talking to my baby before he was born. I would like say hello whenever he moved and be like, hi baby, how's it going? And occasionally I would do some talking. And when I would walk, I would sing to him. But like, I didn't feel like an interpersonal connection with my like unborn baby. And these sort of guided meditations helped with that. And I'm calling them guided meditations. So based on what I'm describing, how would you say that there is a difference between, I know I'm vaguely describing it and you haven't experienced
no,
it yet, but
I can say something about it because you asked me to speak one for you. So I'll just go from that.
Oh, right.
You gave
Yeah,
me
do
a
that.
script
I
that
that you recorded for me.
Yeah, that I recorded for you. Which was so sweet. She asked her sister and I to do a script for her so she could, if she wanted to, use that in birth and have us there, which was really cute.
It was awesome.
Yeah, from that, I agree. I think to me it felt a lot like a mix between a guided meditation and I've been trying to think of this word. Yes, affirmation, but I'm looking for a word that's a little different than that. It's not proposition. Darn it. Like offering something, proposing something, like, what's the word? Okay, whatever. A mix between a guided meditation and affirmations.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also agree with like the hypnosis part. I also could see in there. Which, again, what you said, in order to, whoever has this picture of what you said, hypnosis is someone making you dance like a chicken, is not gonna get the picture here. But I also don't know if we're going to be able to describe it and change that assumption if
Right.
you don't experience it. So I'm just not going to try.
Yeah. I think if anyone is freaked out by the word hypnosis, just replace it with guided meditation.
Yeah.
Or meditation.
Because when you
because
do a
it's
guided
close enough.
meditation, yeah, it is. Exactly. When you do a guided meditation, you, at least in my experience, you do get into a very, very similar state as hypnosis. Because I think there are also, like, there are always levels to everything, right? Like a hypnosis doesn't need to mean that I can make you do anything and later you don't remember. It can also mean like I'm fully aware of what's happening and you're helping me imagine stuff, relax more. I feel like that's where hypnobirthing is at. That fully
So
aware,
I
and
think
this is just helping.
And where it becomes hypnosis is the fact that there is someone, even if it's a recorded someone, that is walking you through the steps of relaxing your body and engaging with changing the way that you think about something.
Yeah.
So
I think the hypnosis part is just certain tools that whoever is speaking this uses. So there's
probably
like the counting down, or they give you an image of walking down a set of stairs, and with every further step you take, you get more and more relaxed, and your eyelids are feeling heavy, and whatever you try, you're not going to be able to open them because they're really heavy and you're really relaxed. And I think those are just tools they use for you to be able to get those visual images and relax.
I agree. So I think that was well said. Cool, thank you.
I was wondering if I even answered your question.
No, I totally think you did. I think you were able to articulate things that are just out of my experience and out of my depth. So thank you. That's good. Yeah. So I'm just looking at timing.
Yep.
So it's time to move on. I do want to mention before we move into my birth experience, specifically hypnobirthing wise, we're not going to go on forever, but after I did that class, it was another month and a half, 2 months until I gave birth. So about at the beginning of July, and I gave birth in July, I bought the online pack from Positive Birth Company, which is a UK-based hypnobirthing school, basically, and Siobhan Miller is the owner of that company, and her goal is to make hypnobirthing accessible. So this pack is 40 pounds, which ended up being about $56 at the time when I bought it. And which is super affordable. The in-person class I took was $200. And that was actually on the low end of a hypnobirthing class. And I think it's because she was new, and so she wasn't charging as much as some of the more experienced folks were, because she was trying to establish her own experience in itself. So anyway, $200 for the in-person course, which was 5 weeks of 2 hours a week. And then I paid like $50 for the same number of hours of content. But obviously it was pre-recorded and preloaded onto the platform. So it wasn't someone interacting with me one-on-one. Although I think there is there's definitely like a contact us link where you can send questions and send like ask people questions and send in your own information and feedback and get something personalized. But the goal of this is to make it really accessible in a way that makes sense for the instructor. So Siobhan teaches that class and she does all the videos for it. And there's a whole book, and there's MP3s for doing the practice, and there's videos of births, and you have access to this positive birth Facebook group, which is so fantastic and just full of people telling their positive birth stories. And it's amazing. And I also did really struggle to find positive birth stories of first-time moms, and there's lots of those in this Facebook group. So that was really exciting. So that was what I did a few weeks before my birth, and as a sort of a refresher, and a refresher also of my practice of hypnobirthing, because it was top of mind again. So moving on to my birth. Oh, I loved my birth. It was so great. So in hypnobirthing, there's a lot of promises. They say if you do this practice, your birth will be either not painful or less painful. They talk a lot about birth not being painful. My birth did involve pain, but it was not unbearable pain, and it was not, the contractions were not the most painful part of my birth. And even the most painful part of my birth was not worse than any pain that I've had worse pain. I've had a lot worse pain. So I would say that was a huge part of this. Like, I was more calm and more alert than my midwife expected me to be. And this is
Can you
a common
explain
thing.
how that is not a contradiction? More calm and more alert?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So because I was calm, and because I was not afraid of what was happening, because I knew what to expect, and I had tools to engage with what was happening in my body, I had brain space for what was going on around me. And I wasn't freaked out. I wasn't shutting down and entirely internally focused. Although and at some point I was entirely internally focused, but not I wasn't in a panic, basically. So, and I haven't had any other birth experience, so I can't speak to what it normally is, but I do know that my midwife was convinced I wasn't as far along as I said I was, because I was calm and because I could talk to her in between contractions, because we were having a fairly decent conversation, and I wasn't like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced, get me in there immediately, right? Like, that wasn't where I was. And so she thought that I still had 12, 13 hours to go when I had 3 to 4. So, yeah. So that was amazing. I used some of the scripts, some of the script practices during my labor. I definitely used the breathing techniques. Oh my gosh, the breathing techniques. If nothing else, the breathing techniques are so good. And knowing what my uterus and the muscles around my uterus were doing was key in how I physically reacted to my contractions in my labor. And knowing that clenching my muscles would make it hurt more and would make it go slower meant that I had reason and I had wherewithal to go, no, I'm going to actively, like what I did against my contractions was relax against them, even though everything in my instincts was going, clench your muscles. And sometimes I would start to clench and then be like, oh no, I have to relax. And so that was a huge thing that I did. And even when I was in like the worst, I say worst, the most intense is hypnobirthing terminology, but even when I was in the most intense part of my birth, I was doing everything I could to relax those muscles. Literally, like in the car, hanging on to the safety bar, clenching everything in my upper body so that I could relax my abdomen and my lower body, which totally worked, by the way. It was great. Highly recommend occupying your brain with something else so that, and part of hypnobirthing is visualizations, which are to occupy your brain with something else so that you're not paying attention to the intensity of what's happening in your uterus. Again, there's so much more to this, and I encourage anyone who's even remotely interested, please check it out. Watch it. Oh, there are free videos from the Positive Birth Company. We can link some of those and also link the Positive Birth Company website. So you can check out the free videos. I think she posted a couple on the breathing techniques. So another part of hypnobirthing that they talk about is that birth doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to have screaming, doesn't have to have, you don't have to be making all these noises. It's the idea that birth is natural and calm and quiet and personal in every other mammal on the planet. So why should we be the exception? Why should our births be traumatic and painful and full of screaming and in need of all of this medicalized intervention? So that's a part of it. A huge part that I incorporated was being in this birth center where it was a super comfortable room. It was low lighting. I was able to be in a pool. I was on my own for a lot of it, not like in the way that they left me alone, but in the way that they let me do my thing and weren't around watching me, which I don't know that I would have even noticed if they had been, but like, just because of where I was in my birth by the time I got to the birth center. But I was comfortable. I was with my partner. I was with my doula. I was not in a place where I was in stark lighting with my legs open and a bunch of people that I don't know were around me, right? So one of the huge things that especially Siobhan talks about is imagine doing the way that you want to do your birth is the way that you would imagine where you want to poo, right? Like, do you want to take a poo with your legs open with a bunch of strangers staring at your bits? Like, you're not going to be able to poop in that situation because that's not how we poop. We poop in private in a place that we're comfortable, in a place that we're by ourselves. So you also aren't going to want to give birth, and your body is going to have a physical reaction. If you imagine, a lot of people can't pee if someone else is in the room with them. And that's a physical thing, right? They physically cannot pee. It's not that they don't want to, it's that they physically can't pee. So your body has a physiological reaction to social things that are happening in the room. So that was a huge part of hypnobirthing in my birth, was the actual surroundings that I was in giving birth. I felt safe. I trusted the people that were in charge of my care. I was allowed to be in charge, allowed to say what I needed, and allowed to act on that within the bounds of safety, and allowed to react to and engage at every point when a decision needed to be made. So I got to say when I was starting to push, I got to I wasn't told when to push or how to push. I wasn't told where I had to be for any of that. I wasn't told that I needed to be in a certain position or I needed to be in a certain place. And I will say a lot of these things can also happen in hospital births. But again, I haven't experienced a hospital birth and I haven't. And so I can't speak to whether or not that would have been the case. But I made the decision to not have a hospital birth because I think I would have had to be a lot more active to create that environment in a hospital. And that's not my personality. And that's not what I wanted to be doing at that time. So those are the main things. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, the other thing, one of my favorite affirmations that the Hypnobirthing affirmations script has is, and I'm going to not say it completely right, but basically, I know that my baby and I will be able to handle anything that happens in my birth. Anything that happens in my birth, I can take it on because I know that I am able and that my baby is able, right? So like, it's what that did for me was sort of take, and it didn't entirely, right? Like all of this is a process and it's work to get to the place where you believe all of the affirmations that you're saying. And that's why you say them so often, so that you come to better believe them. And in saying them, you can sort of realize what it is about that affirmation that you don't believe and figure out why that is and how to address that. But that is my favorite one because it gave me the freedom for my birth to happen however it happened. And even though I set up all of these things, all of these environmental factors and all of this work internally to have the birth that I envisioned and worked to have the birth that I envisioned, there was a part of it that says, even if it's not exactly how I envisioned, it is good. Even if it's not what I had planned, it is good. And I can handle it because I trust myself, I trust my body, I trust my baby, I trust my partner. I trust in all of these things that I have set up to create a birth that is positive. So that was my, oh, I will say I was very loud. I was not quiet. I was quiet until probably
The car.
I was quiet in the car for the most part. I was like very quiet in the car because it took a lot of concentration to stay calm and okay in the car. I had an 1.5-hour car drive when I was very close to transitioning. Like I threw up before I got in the car. That's how close I was. So, and I also threw up in the car, but it's fine. I didn't even remember throwing up. For anyone that's worried about throwing up, I didn't even remember it until I like actively went back through my birth to recount. I had totally forgotten about throwing up. Oh, fuck. I stopped recording.
Hi, this is Hannah from editing. You probably noticed 24 minutes ago, but we only noticed now that Megan's recording had stopped. So after being mad and upset for a few minutes, we decided to go ahead and use the backup recording that we had and finish it up with the backup recording. So we apologize for the lower quality that you have already been experiencing for 24 minutes and will for another 10, 20 maybe. You will know how much is left. You can just look at the timeline. You will know. I don't know yet because I'm not done editing. Anyways, we apologize. we are working on it. We're getting better. We're figuring it out. And thank you for sticking with us. Okay, back to the original episode.
I was loud. I was making a lot of noise. I think is where I was ending it. I didn't have this like beautiful, calm, totally internal birth. I did like sing to the moon, which is how I picture it in retrospect. I don't think that's how I pictured it then, but I was like making a lot of vocalizations during my surges, my contractions. Surges is what they're called in hypnobirthing. So that was definitely different than I was expecting it to be, but it was also just real and how I was feeling, and didn't feel like a concession, didn't feel like a defeat in any way. What I loved was my midwife didn't have anything to say about how I was pushing or what I was doing or what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, except for she did when I was making noises and I would get high pitched, she'd be like, try to keep it in the lower register, try to keep it to, keep it on the low end. And what that did was connect with me physiologically there. As I was making those higher pitched noises, I made those when I started to like feel pain, when I started to feel like I couldn't, right? So I would make those noises when I felt like it was too much. And what bringing the noise lower did was actually cause me to focus on relaxing and focus on not, because when I was making those noises is when I started to feel like ring of fire sort of pain, right? Like stretching in my vaginal opening that was beyond where my skin was at, beyond what my skin could handle in that moment. And bringing it lower helped me to not do that. So that was one thing that my midwife did, which was just amazing. I'm doing a lot of chef's kisses today. I don't know what that's about, but it's happening. And yeah, so I absolutely effing loved my birth. I don't know, are we swearing on this podcast? I fucking loved my birth. And hypnobirthing was a huge part of that. I would say probably the main part of it. I'm really happy that I chose to go to a birth center, and I would say hypnobirthing was a part of that decision. And we're going to do an episode on why I chose a birth center and all of that. But yeah, please check out hypnobirthing if you're pregnant and any of this sounds interesting to you. It created a mindset around my birth experience, which impacted me physiologically and mentally and emotionally, and just in every aspect of how I experienced my birth. And I mean, my birth went very well, but there were things that could have created a different experience if I had a different mindset and had a different idea of it going into it. So
That was a cliffhanger, I feel like.
I love hypnobirthing. Oh yeah, there you go, teaser.
Also, I hope this is okay that I can offer that. I think you can, if you have questions for Megan, you can send them.
Oh yeah. Please do. Yeah. And tell us about your hypnobirths. Tell us about your non-hypnobirths. We want to know. We want to hear about them.
Yeah.
I really want to hear about them. I'm no longer pregnant or anywhere close to giving birth, and I am still reading all of the birth stories on the Positive Birth Company Facebook page because I can't not.
Same.
I love birth. Tell us all about it and send us your questions and ask me about hypnobirthing. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for listening to me prattle on. Thanks for recording when you're on your period. Even though my stupid camera, I'm buying a camera because this is
Yeah, we're
my phone has caused us to lose what, 3 separate recordings now? Yeah. And we had to cancel a recording session because of my phone. So this is not okay. I'm buying a phone.
We're a little behind schedule, but it's okay. It's giving us practice. Let's look on the bright side.
It is giving us practice. I would prefer that practice be successful recording.
You need to go to your meeting. I'm gonna go lie back down.
Good. Do that. Take a few of those blankets from your floor.
Guys, we're frequently gonna post behind the scenes pictures. My office when we record looks ridiculous because I have a hardwood floor. I do not want carpet in here because it's a beautiful floor. I also don't have a lot of furniture in here because my brain works better when there's less stuff around. I like the fairly minimalist look, but that makes my room echo. So the audio is not great. So I gather all the blankets and old curtains actually from all around the house and pillows when we record and just, yeah. So anyways, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And I can't wait for the birth one now.
Me too. I'm gonna do notes and timestamps again, even though I didn't totally follow it. It was very useful.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Love your face. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.